Jim Gordon here in the offices of the Richmond Sentinel. Time for another edition of Richmond Stories. She is a certified health insurance specialist, a chartered life underwriter, and a certified financial planner. And she has grown her business, the Dupuis Langdon Group, into one of the largest, most respected insurance brokerage firms in BC. It is a pleasure to welcome Diane Dupuis to the Richmond Sentinel offices. Welcome.
Thanks, Jim. It's great to be here.
It is great to have you as part of another one of our Richmond stories. Lots to talk about. You've been a businesswoman a long time, a very successful business. Let's start with your industry, the insurance business. How long have you been in doing what you do? If you don't mind me saying, I know you started when you were 11.
Okay, as long as we know that I started when I was 11.
Yeah, right out of senior public school.
Then I started my company in 1985, but I trained with Sun Life of Canada in 1978.
Is there, I know you talk to a lot of people, including myself, where you get to a point where you say with a bigger company and then you want to go off on your own. Was that a long time deciding? Did you feel the time was right? Obviously you're successful, so you've done well, but was there hesitancy? Because everybody seems to go through that when they want to branch off on their own, if that's what they're going to do.
Absolutely not.
Oh, good, okay.
Yep,
You've done your time?
Yeah. So my objective when I started working for Sun Life and doing all the training back in the early 80s was that I was going to get all the training, as much education, and then leave to start my own boutique firm. You know, I grew up in small business.
Okay.
And so it was just a natural to have a business.
Thinking back again of those times, if you were too young to remember those times, and it's not a long time ago, but it's amazing how times have progressed, specifically for women in business. Was it difficult when you first started? I mean, we're talking, the 80s, not that it was the 60s or the 50s, Mad Men era, but was it difficult to start at first?
It wasn't difficult to start. It's a great question. And it wasn't difficult to start my own firm because it was my firm.
Your firm,
and
right.
So I could set the rules, the parameters. But following the rules and guidelines of being in the insurance business and being a woman in the late 70s, early 80s, that had some interesting challenges because there was a dress code.
Yeah.
I was not allowed in the front door of the Vancouver Club. I was not allowed in the front door of the Terminal City Club, and I had to go in the back door. And so, there was differences like that. And so, for me, growing up in business with my family, there was no such thing as a front door or back door.
Right.
And but I had to, I just dealt with that. And other than that, I was, one of very few women in Canada in the insurance industry. So I look at it and I feel that I received some great education and great training. Because of that, everyone wanted to make sure that I was a success. Yeah. So I think I got a benefit. I got some benefit.
Benefit,
sure.
And support, which is great to
absolutely.
hear. Does your team provide services for business or personal or both? Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah. No. Now our firm now has, it's evolved over the years, but the Dupuis Langdon Group does one thing, and that is we market, design, administer, and sell employee benefits for corporations only.
How is this is a question I seem to be asking everybody that I talk to these days, as to how the last 2 years has affected you and the business world in which you exist. There have been some dark days. I'd like to think we're through the worst of it, but you never know. Yeah. Talk about the last 2.5 years for you and your industry.
So for our industry, we're in an industry where most companies did not want to take anything away from their employees during this period.
Right.
And people are sick, so they want to keep their health plans, they want to keep their dental plans, keep their pension plans. And so the last 2 years we have been extremely busy, and just in managing our clients and their expectations and their concerns. And we were one of the firms that had the first COVID death registered in British Columbia.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and so that was in the early days. And so it's us, our leadership team, managing our staff to make sure that they can handle the trauma that they're going to hear about. And so it's been a very interesting time. But we have grown as a company through it, and it's been good for us. I mean, we've seen some we've certainly seen clients go through difficult times, and depending on the industry. Fortunate for us, who would know that we were going to go into a pandemic?
Yeah, yeah.
And so who would think that we were just about to market into the hotel industry and tourism industry, and we were just about to start a marketing campaign into that in early 2020 or the spring of 2020,
right,
when this all happened. And so the industry that we work in, which is construction primarily, and healthcare, community living sector, and professional services, they were very stable throughout the pandemic, most of them.
And it's interesting too, because there is this, you've said it's made your company stronger and better. The other thing I hear consistently is that it was about adapting and evolving and changing and stepping back, and I hate to use that word pivoting because it's been used a lot, but a lot of people in your position have told me the same thing, that this side of it 2.5 years later, they're a better company.
Yeah, we are absolutely, unequivocally a better company now than we were before. Our staff, I'm old school, where you get up, you get dressed, you go to the office.
Yes.
We have beautiful offices, and I love the chatter of the firm. There's 25 of us, and at the beginning of the pandemic there were 21, now there's 25. And it's a hustle bustle, it's loud, noisy, there's lots of laughter, and I would never allow people to work remotely.
Through even really?
No. This was before COVID.
Yeah. Okay.
And on Friday, March 13th, that's when Trudeau announced the shutdown. Monday morning, March 16th, our parking lot at our office building looked like we had been robbed, because our staff were leaving the office with 2 computer screens, 2 computer monitors, and bags and boxes, and loading up their cars, and they were going home. And I'm proud to say that we were fully operational within 2.5 hours.
And how long did that stay full kind of work from home?
We have a full remote workforce now.
Okay.
Yes, and we've continued that. We've surveyed our staff, and our staff are very productive. Most of our staff are under 40, they're family people, they have children, and they have been able to save money during the pandemic. They've been able to spend more time with their families and more quality time, and the efficiency of the work that's done is phenomenal. So we have a core group of people that do go into the office, but the majority of our staff, 70%, are fully remote.
It's interesting too, isn't it, that out of this darkness that none of us have really seen in our lifetimes, that something comes out where it did make people realize about the work-personal balance, and that things would suffer if someone was working at home. I think a lot of people were surprised by that.
Yeah, I was totally. I mean, when I think back about the applicants over the years that I've said no to, because they lived in Chilliwack, they lived in Kelowna, and they wanted to work remotely 4 days a week, and I said no, it wouldn't work. Well, now we have our first employee in Calgary. Wow. And she's a superstar.
That's great.
And we have clients right across the country, but I didn't know what a Teams meeting was. I didn't know what a Zoom meeting was. And
you're not alone. I think
now, I mean, that's our life now.
Yeah, and as you said, that's all part of evolving and changing and restructuring and looking at things a little differently. But that's
sure.
Hey, you got to talk as well about. I know it sometimes can be used as a cliche, but people giving back in your position. You're very involved in the community here in Richmond. You are raising millions for the Richmond Hospital Foundation, but you're also something very dear to your heart, I've been told, is the Act West Community Foundation, started by you and your late husband. Can you talk about that a little bit for our viewers that may not know of it? Yeah,
for sure. One of the core values of our company is education, partnership, and excellence. And so educating single mothers was just a natural for us. And so we started, Dupuis Langan started this Act West Community Foundation and fully funds it. And we now educate single mothers for 4 years of university.
Oh, wow.
And so we have our first graduate, unfortunately 2 that dropped out. We have 3 women in the program now, and we are just about to choose 2 new candidates to start a program in January. And so we're really proud of that, to watch these women, these single mothers who are resilient, to get educated so that they can then break that cycle of whatever cycle they were on, so that their children and them can lead healthy, good lives.
That's fabulous. Hey, we should also mention, I'm going to blow your horn a little more if you don't mind. You were just in Toronto to receive an award from the Women's Executive Network. First of all, congratulations.
Thanks, Jim.
You're quite welcome. Well earned. Can you tell us about who they are? About the day you were there, or the week you were there.
I don't know much about WXN, other than they're a large organization across Canada, and I was nominated for this top 100 most powerful businesswomen award, and I thought, oh, a nomination, that's great.
That's nice, yeah.
That's really cool, and that was back in April, and then when they called me in August to let me know that I had actually won, I was so deeply honored. And so I won in there's different categories,
Sure.
And I won in the category of entrepreneur. So there were 12 of us in that category, and I met 100 amazing women last week in Toronto, and it was just a great event. And kudos to WXN.
And it's great too what you mentioned earlier. I imagine there was a lot of discussion amongst the 100 women about helping and paying it forward, as I mentioned a few moments ago, to help the next generation coming up.
Oh, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I'm going to end on a little philosophical note of helping others in the next generation coming. Your big pieces of advice you would give to people that are asking you how to get ahead.
I would say that, find a mentor. I've always had great business mentors, but find a mentor or someone that you really look up to and ask them for help. And I think most people really want to see this next generation of young people grow and thrive and be better at their careers.
That's a good note to go out on. And
Great.
Congratulations on the award. It's Diane Dupuis. She is really involved in this community. That's part of why we chose her for another edition of Richmond Stories here at the Richmond Sentinel.
Thanks, Jim.
You're welcome.